Right, where to start? Do you know where I wanted to start with today? Was the 1,000 burpee challenge. Now, I know this might just be a wee bit of fun just to kick us off today, but we're a year today, I think, for the country officially closed down for lockdown. And at the beginning of the lockdown, like me and most people were taking advantage of the sun and reading a book out our back garden, and you and some of your crazy pals were doing 1,000 burpees a day. How how did you get into that in the first place?
Oh, it's kind of funny. Like, so one of the things when we were training was if you left your equipment behind, so if you left gloves, shorts, or anything behind, it was stuck up on social media, and it was basically a like for burpees. And I think I left my gloves at one time at one of the gyms, and I got like 1,200 odd burpees to do.
Wow! Right, okay.
And I just sit in there like, yeah, look, you need to do these burpees. There's no ifs or buts. You need to do these burpees. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'd done the 1,200, and I knew how much of a hard challenge it was.
Yeah.
I said, right, I'm going to do the 1,000 burpees just to see where my fitness level is. Taking into consideration, I was supposed to be fighting coming this end of this month last year, and then obviously COVID ended it. So I'm like, you know what, this will be my challenge in a sense. Let's see how long it takes to do 1,000 burpees. And then the likes of Daniel took over, said he's wanting to do it, and then he got a few of the other boys to do it as well. So it just kind of escalated from there. And then I saw a few other people, we saw a few boys from GTBA doing it. We saw one or two people down south doing it. So it was pretty cool, man.
So how long did it take you to do? What was your best time for 1,000 burpees?
So my best time last year was just about 59 minutes something.
Wow. All right. And what was the body feeling like after that?
Do you know what? The Achilles were probably the worst of it, in all honesty.
Right.
Just because you're up and down, you're not getting a really good stretch. So that, and probably just the fatigue. It wasn't really more the kind of the pain like you would get if you were doing loads of reps or something, of like press ups or something. You get that kind of DOMS feeling, that chest ache or whatever. But it was just that kind of all over fatigue, lethargic kind of feeling. You know, that was hellish for maybe about 2 or 3 days, and then it was back to normal.
How many times did you do it? Like, how many
only
times
done it. I've only done it once since then. It's kind of one of those ones where you say, you know what, I'm going to do it once just to see how I'm, and that's it. It gets put on the back burner, and you never go back to it again.
Well, you can always say that you've done it. That's it.
I mean, I've done the 1,200, I've done 1,000. That's me. I'm never going back to it again unless I really need to.
So you did do the one when you left your gloves in the gym then?
Yeah, I done the 1,200, and then I went straight into an hour of sparring afterwards as well, and then that was just hellish as well. That was just stupid. But I was in a fight camp at the time, and I was like, you know what, I need to be doing the sparring, and it was just something extra.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Right, so how has the lockdown affected sort of you and your training? That's probably a place to kick into next. I know you're at the, well, you can clarify that your sort of main job is down at the National Institute, is it?
Yeah, so I work for Sport Scotland as, in essence, really a kind of fitness gym instructor. Okay. I get the opportunity to work with some people, like amateur athletes to an extent. So there was a scheme with North Ayrshire where they were kind of pushing through like amateur athletes or whatever. We might be lucky enough to get one or two of them in and kind of work with them and whatever. But basically my role is just a gym instructor that you would see in a commercial gym all the time. But the lucky thing was that I'm in a national sports centre like Sport Scotland. I had the opportunity to work with different other people. So we had a few years ago, we had the Scottish gymnastics team that went to Golden Coast. They were in doing all their kind of prep work and strength work. So you got to get to see them. We had Manchester under 23s in. That was a really kind of bit of an eye shocker, how strict they are, and how. So we sometimes get some of the Scottish Premier League teams in. And it's like night and day. You know, they're in Premier League Scottish teams are like this, blah 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 blah. And then you see the under 23s Manchester boys in, and it's just like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Then you can go on your phone, you know. I mean, if your boys as young as 14 and they're on 12 grand a week, they need to be head on down, getting it done, you know. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Like we get to work with a lot of people, and it's a good wee place. and there's been a lot of opportunities for myself in terms of qualifications. It's a great facility. I mean, see, ever since it's been refurbished, I don't know if you've been there before or whatever. It used to be this kind of like sort of old style building, and then it was a separate centre. It's now everything's together now.
Yeah.
So the gym and centre, the centre, the kind of like hotel side of thing is all amalgamated into everything. So it's a really great facility, and it's just a shame because of COVID that it's not got to be used to its full extent in the last year.
Yeah. So how's that? I want to dedicate a full section of our chat today to the Muay Thai and your sort of fighting career, but just to stick on the sort of fitness stuff to start with, like how's that affected you? Have you been doing any like one-to-ones with online clients or things like that?
Not really. Like, it's kind of weird. We, as an instructor in Sports Scotland, we're not really allowed to do any like PT work. Okay. But in essence, you are, because you are giving members one-to-one programs all the time.
Yeah.
So you are in essence an instructor, but you're also a PT at the same time. But I've not really been doing anything kind of like via online or whatever. I've got my own kind of mindset and kind of theories about online stuff. As much as I do like it, at the same time, it's not for me. I like the one-to-one. I like being on Panda. I like being very personal. Yeah. So that's something I've kind of, and the fact as well, because I've had recently a wee baby girl, well, a toddler now. I've tried to use this last year to spend as much time with her at the same time still training myself, you know.
Brilliant, yeah.
So it's like, I would love to do a wee bit more online stuff, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take as much time as I can to spend with my family, train myself, and just enjoy the kind of time that COVID has gave us as well. As much as it is a bad thing, it has been really good for me in that sense that I've been able to see my daughter learn to walk, start to speak, be absolutely crazy, you know. So it has had its positives, it has had its kind of negatives for me as well. And kind of a positive and a negative for me is like I've not always managed to fight in the last year, so that has managed to allow me to kind of, in essence, recuperate a sense. I'm not constantly dieting. I'm not letting my body get down to like a pure near death kind of state where I'm skeletal. I'm not strong. I'm not physically feeling as powerful and whatever. So it's given me a chance to kind of put weight on, get stronger. But at the same time, it's like, oh shit, man, when it comes back to fighting, you're going to have to cut a lot of weight, you know? So it's a double-edged sword, really. I've been able to get that stronger, that faster, that bit more powerful. But at the other side, I'm like, wow, you're going to have to cut a lot of weight to get down with it, you know? Yeah. It's a bad thing, but it's a good thing at the same time.
We moved all of our Taekwondo classes online, and that was fine. It meant I was in the house, obviously, but just what you say there, and I hope that people have had that opportunity, because I've had the same opportunity as you. Like, I would be coming in from work, spending an hour with the wee guy. I've got one wee boy, and then you're back out to different sports centres and teaching. I was teaching 7 days a week at one stage, and this last year, like, just getting so close. I know that sounds crazy, and my wee boy's 8 now, but just getting so close with your kid has been a huge blessing.
I totally agree. I mean, like, when I was training for this fight last year, so I was literally leaving the house at 5 o'clock to start work at 6. I would train straight after my shift. I'd be back up the road. I'd get to spend an hour with the wee one, and then I'd be off to the Griphouse for 2 hours. By the time I get back, it's like 7:30, 9 o'clock at night. Starting to get hard to get to sleep. I've hardly had any time with it, and I've hardly had any time with my missus as well. So it's been perfect, you know, in a sense for people that haven't had that chance to stay at home and have that time with their family as well. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Right, so let's move on to talk a wee bit about your Thai boxing journey or career. You know what? Anytime, if I've seen you in Mayhem Gym, just if I've been in to see Stevie or whatever, if you weren't holding pads and stuff, you're one of these guys that, like, I don't know if I would know you were there. Do you know, like, and that's where I want to start this conversation, because you're such a well, how you come across to me anyway, Mondo, and you might say, listen, you're completely wrong there, and that's cool too. But just such a quiet, nice guy. And I think a lot of fighters are like that. And you just do your stuff, and then once it's showtime, so to speak, it's showtime, and you're a different guy. That's accurate.
I agree with you, man. It's like when I first started getting into fighting, one of my friends at the time who I no longer talk to or see to it, one of the things he came, why don't you just go in there and be like, like go and run at him and go 100 miles an hour? And I'm like, you can't, but you've got to have that kind of, there's that line where you've got anger, aggression, and control. You know, there's those lines in there, and if you just blur them all together, you're going to end up injured. You're going to end up severely getting knocked out potentially, or doing something really stupid. You've got to have that balance of being able to go from calm to aggressive, angry to fighting. In my opinion, you know, there's got to be that kind of control there, and you'll probably find it yourself with the Taekwondo. There's aspects of you where you need to be very controlled, very calm, and then there's like, that's when I need to act. That's when I need to be aggressive. Yeah. And I'm very much like that. I mean, I wouldn't say I've got a bad bone in my body. You know?
You don't come across that way. That's the thing, like at all.
I want to be everybody's pal at the end of the day, and I know that's not physically possible, but I don't see the point in being, do you know what, I'm going to be a dick just for the sake of being a dick. But don't get me wrong, there's times when I'm training people, or if I'm sparring with someone or whatever, that I will be a dick. Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, I'm just a nice person, you know, and if I can help you, I'll help you, you know. That's just, it's the way I've been brought up at the end of the day, you know. Yeah. And I don't, sometimes I like to be part of the kind of the crowd that's obviously getting the conversation flowing and what, and then other times I just kind of like sit back and just watch things and see how people interact and see where things go, you know. And I kind of guess that comes from one of my previous roles is working in security. I just kind of like watching people and seeing how things are. Yeah. But yeah, it's a weird one, and I like being nice, and then other times I like being a dick and just kind of hitting people.
What age are you now, Mondo?
I am 33 and I'm going to be 34 in June, which is quite scary.
Listen, I'm 40 next year. Okay, this is a question that we kind of always bring up, especially with the martial artists like yourself that I've had on the podcast. Like, how did it all start? How did you get into?
So I started, maybe 18, 19, and I started basically in a kind of a freestyle kind of Korean kickboxing, and that was taught by Sensei Jackie Marshall and John Lightbody. Okay. And basically it was, I'd seen all the films, I'd seen the best of the best, kickboxer, blood sport, you name it. I saw it and I'm like, I want to try this, I want to have a bash at it. And I worked right up till I got my first stand in kickboxing. Right. And really enjoyed it. It just didn't feel as if it had what I wanted, you know. I was like, I'm training all the time for this martial arts sport. I want to be able to put it into practice. And my sensei at the time, Jackie, was really good friends with Lex Eason, who's known as a world champion kickboxer in Paisley. That, look, we've got a few tickets to his show, we're going to go. So went, I loved it. Wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but I'm like, I really love that. I want to do that. And my sensei's like, look, I don't know if that'll be for you. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then MMA had just started to come into the scene a wee bit more in the last kind of when I started 18 and 19. Yep. And I joined I went to one or two classes with a group called Team Viper. Right, okay. And they were kind of MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, bit of Thai boxing as well. So I went up and I loved the training. It was fantastic. I came out with this pure high elevated up to here. But if you weren't part of the kind of core group of people, you were only really paying attention as much. Okay, yeah. So it kind of disheartened me a wee bit. And then I maybe went another 2 or 3 times. And then that's when I met my first Thai boxing instructor, Mickey Madden. Right. Mickey just got, look, wee man, I'm going to be running a class in the Bolestone Com. It's just going to be a few boys. We're just going to hit pads, maybe spar. You interested? I've got, mate, that sounds perfect. Yeah. Started with Mick and literally maybe training 3-4 months, and I get the opportunity to fight on one of John Craig's shows down in Haddington. So we went down, and then that was it. Basically, I went and had my first fight. It was chaotic. I actually think it's still on YouTube. So if you want to laugh, man, go on to YouTube, type in Mondo first fight Harrington, and just see me run at this guy. It's just, it's crazy. But yeah, I stayed with Mick for maybe another 2 years after that, and we were still kind of fighting under the Port Glasgow Muay Thai kind of flag, but we're still part of SMTC. Okay. And then I started training with John a lot more. I got a lot of good fights with John, and it just worked out more better for me because of my job at the time. I was in the Glasgow area. It was easier to just go to East Kilbride than go all the way back down to Port Glasgow and to then go right back up and so forth. So for travelling, it was easier. Trained with John for a wee while, and then again, just because of travelling and whatever, I moved over to Robert Burke, who was still flying under the flag of SMTC Glasgow with John. Okay. Trained with Robert. Started thinking, you know what, I'm going to go a wee bit down, like further afield. So I started training, like, going down for a week, training, like, with Michael Dix and Paul. Trained with Panicus. Trained with, oh Christ, what do you call him? Reece McAllister and his dad and the boys down there at Phoenix. Just travelled as much as I can, and then let's see what happened. So I kind of stayed with Rav for a while, and then in the last kind of 2 years, bit of things I'm not going into it because I don't want to divulge information and kind of badness, but let's just say we had a fallout, things were said, and I moved over to the Griphouse, where I've been there for like the last kind of 18, 24 months now, and it's been fantastic. It's like, it's opened my eyes. That's something I really like. One of the reasons why I started to kind of go, like, I'm going to go down south to try and learn more about Muay Thai, is I want to have more perspectives. I don't want to have this kind of fixed kind of tunnel vision of what Muay Thai is. I want to see what this person says Muay Thai is. I want to see what this person sees it as. And one of the things I really like with the grip is you've got, like, so you've got Guy, you've got Manny, you've got Keith, you've got T, you've got Charlie, who all have these different wee things. They've got that core kind of values of what Muay Thai is. But they've just add wee bits and bobs, and I think you should try this, and I think you should try that. I mean, I was always told that my kickboxing stuff was never going to work in Thai boxing. Okay. Like I was told a spinning hook kick will never knock someone out. My third fight, I knocked someone out with a spinning hook kick. Yeah. You know? Yeah. But since then, I was told that it's a one-trick pony. It'll never happen again. I never reverted back to it. But then I've got the likes of Guy who's saying, right, I want you to practice spinning hook kicks. I want you to do spinning back fists. I want you to do jumping spinning back kicks. That stuff's getting added back into my repertoire now. So it's kind of like I started there. My base level has just kind of elevated at that time, you know. So it's been a good kind of like 10 years or so, just kind of going from one place to another, seeing what their perspective is and just gradually improving, you know, and at the same time fighting at such a high level as well. Yeah.
See, just one wee point that we can maybe explore here. Like, now the first thing I'll say is I fully understand that people have to start somewhere. You're always going to have your first fight. I understand that. I've been, and you kind of mentioned it about yourself, like, I would imagine you're in the ring, the lights are blaring down on you, and you just sort of, you go for it. And sometimes I've been to shows and I've thought to myself, like, that you worry that people are maybe put in just too early, that they don't have that calmness, I guess. But but I understand, listen, let me be clear, I understand you'll not get that unless you get the experience. Yeah. How do you find that happy medium so it doesn't look like a street fight? Guys are just getting in and they've completely lost it. But you have to get them started somehow.
It's weird. Like, I don't know if it. This might be actually quite controversial for me to say this, but fuck it, I don't give a shit. I tend to find, especially a lot in Scotland, with the fights, you're very much easy to see who's a real beginner compared to when you're down south. Yeah. I feel from what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've kind of experienced, see if you're training down south, there's opportunities for you to be put into interclubs weekend. Whereas up here, I could have someone training for like maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks and say, do you know what, you want to fight? I can get you a fight in 2 weeks' time, you know? And they get flung into the deep end. Right. And that's where you see the skill change. You know? you're getting these people down south who are in a kind of extreme competitive situation every weekend. Okay, it's not full contact, they're shinned up, they've got bigger gloves on, they maybe have head guards on depending on their rule set or whatever, but they're getting that every weekend, you know, whereas this person's only been training for like 6-8 weeks and they're getting flung into the deep end, full contact, bare shin, 8-ounce gloves, 10-ounce gloves, boom, you know. That's where you kind of see that massive skill set change.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's something that is evolving in Scotland in terms of like, so the junior level. So if I tend to find, like, I never done any interclubs at all. I think I had one interclub, okay, but all my competitive fights have been pro fights, you know. Yeah. So I was falling into the deep end in essence. But I will say now that juniors are probably the best way to start. I'm kind of gutted I didn't start when I was a junior. But you are seeing more juniors go into interclubs. So when you see a junior going into an adult fight and you go, well, that guy's only had 6 weeks. What's the difference here? They've been training since they've been knee-high, you know. They've got that skill set. So it is really hard. Like, I had one of my students, it came from being a background of like a badminton player, very high level badminton player. And was training with one of my friends, getting PTs off him. PT moved abroad and had to pass them on to myself. And so, look, I've got that competitive streak. I want to train. I want to fight. And I said to God, look, I'm not going to put you into a fight until I feel that you're comfortable. You know, and that I'm happy with your skill level. I think I trained them for maybe 12 months before I said, right, you're going to get a fight. You know, and just waiting that wee bit was better because it gives you that ability to get that skill set. I think, see, because of the kind of social media thing as well, people want to be flung into a fight now so they can fling up on their Facebook or their Instagram, I'm a fighter, I'm this and that, and it gets them the likes, it's off of the gram, you know, but when they get put into that position, that kind of curtain comes down, but oh crap, man, I've bit off way too much than I can chew, you know. You need to, obviously, you need that training. It's there for a reason at the end of the day. If you're not ready and prepared, I've failed, or your coaches failed to prepare you and make you the safe and strong fighter that you need to be for that event, you know?
See, the thing about the kids, we've got a lot of kids and adult students, and the adults will always say, okay, we've got obviously young kids that will become teenagers, and some of them will stay with us all the way through until they're adults. And then the adult students that join, they all comment and say, you can just tell that kid's been there for, your body just moves in a different way because you're sort of, all those neural pathways are set for kicking and punching and doing this and that. And it's so natural. Again, I'm completely happy to be proven wrong here or to be told that I'm wrong. What I see a lot from the outside is that the lifespan of someone in Muay Thai isn't as long as what I think it probably could be. It might be because there is a lot of young people saying, I just want to fight, or I want to just get a video up on my Facebook or whatever. But like, I don't know.
I'll totally agree, man. Like,
you're right.
You're very right in that. So there's a lot of people that I have seen not coming up from like a junior level, just in the adult level, who have shown real promise, maybe had 2 or so many fights, and then they just disappear. You know?
That's what I'm saying.
I think a part of it comes down to, one, whether you're going to get a fight. You know, it is sometimes really hard to get one, and then secondly, you're not really doing it for anything at the end of the day. It's not exactly well paid, unfortunately. And you're only really doing it for the love of it at the end of the day. So it's kind of hard to keep that kind of drive, that inspiration, that motivation to keep on, do you know what, I'm going to hammer at it. And I can totally understand why some that have been juniors have been right tore into it from the start, and then maybe they take a few years away from it, enjoy their life, and then come back to it, you know?
That makes sense too. That does make sense.
Like, so, or as I say, you've got some adults that have fought, had maybe 2-3 fights, and then, do you know what? It's not for me. I've done it. I've kind of ticked it off my bucket list. I'm done, you know. One of the boys that I used to train with Mick, he was brilliant. Really, he was like perfect body proportions for it. Showed really good kind of a gift for it almost. And then 3 or 4 fights, chucked it. He came back to it there for a wee while. Managed to get into it, but COVID kind of put things into it. So that's a different kind of story. But he was out of it for a good part of maybe 6 to 8 years, and then he's came back in, you know. So it does happen in that respect as well.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones. I find with this, especially from my own experience, you really have to have a love for it to kind of stick at it, you know, to kind of get what you want out of it.
You've got to be a wee bit crazy as well, haven't you? I mean,
it's not fun getting punched in the face or taking an elbow to the face, is it?
Well, see, okay, that kind of ties in nicely with the next thing that has came to my mind to talk about. And I actually noted this down when you were talking about weight cutting. Now, we could have a whole conversation on weight cutting.
Did you see the UFC last year at the weekend who actually fainted on the scales?
Right, now, I was talking about that just the other day. She actually collapsed twice.
I've only seen it once.
They only got one on video. So this is maybe a really good thing to chat to you about, especially because you are so knowledgeable about conditioning and health and fitness as well. So Girl goes up to probably the biggest fighting association in the world. So you're thinking they should have this down. She actually collapsed. And then, they, as you said, they only videoed one. She collapsed and they put her back on the scale. And then she collapsed again. So she didn't just collapse once, she collapsed twice. And then only on the second one was her fight cancelled. So what I want to ask you today is why you would continue to put yourself through that, and how dangerous actually is it?
Oh, mate, so I'll tell you a story, right? So I flew over to Sweden to fight in Gothenburg City. It was like one of my B-class fights, or one of my escapades in the B-class, and I was fighting a kind of Asian boy by the name of Jian Hong. And see, when you first saw this kid, he looked like a kid. See, as soon as the top came off, it's like, bloody hell, bodybuilder style, you know. But this was my first time getting down to 57k, and I literally was so I was in a shit job at the time. So see, trying to get around training and whatever to get down to weight, it was horrific. Right. I was in the sauna on the Thursday for about 4 hours, 5 hours.
Right, wait now, let me stop you there, right? What age would you have been?
Oh, Christ, I must have been about 25, maybe 26.
Right, and what height were you?
So I'm 5'7".
Right, so I've got the calculator here on the phone. That's 8 stone, 9 pound.
Yeah, roughly about that, yeah. And I think I must have been about 63 kilos beforehand, 63, 64. And I've done this in the space of maybe 8 to 12 weeks. So I've been in the sauna. I've managed to get myself down to maybe about 59.5. We flew over, and I'm sitting in the plane in a sauna suit trying to get this water out of me. Right. We land, we go to the hotel. As soon as I'm in the hotel, myself, my pal Ross, who was fighting, Nicole, who was fighting, all jumped down into the sauna steam room. I'm in the steam room for another 4 or 5 hours, and I managed to hit 57. My heart rate must have been elevated high because I could feel it racing. Yeah. I had that pure kind of that dry mouth where you're like, I couldn't talk. Nicole and Ross were pure like, Mondo, you don't look well at all. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Yeah. I jump on the scales and they're like that to me. You're not overweight. I'm like, what? I'm 57 bang on. He's like, no, we need you at 56. I'm like, no, text message says 57. No, 56. So I've had to jump off the scale, go back into the sauna, start skipping and what's up, and I can only lose 0.5 a kilo. My body has literally went, look, no, you're not losing anymore. You've got nothing more to give. So they ended up letting me away with the 0.5, but I was dead. I had nothing. I looked like a junkie. I felt crap. I was horrific. I lasted maybe 1.5 rounds of the fight,
Yeah.
When you get that depleted, your body has nothing. You have no punch ability, you have no kick ability. Anything that gets flung at you is literally going to put you down because your body can't react. You know, you've taken all the goodness out of your body. And I was very lucky that I didn't faint beforehand. But see, even after the fight, I was feeling ill. I couldn't eat. I was struggling to get the fluids back in.
Yep.
If you do it wrong, it's going to hit you for days. If you do it right, brilliant. It's a science in its own right at the end of the day.
I know that one championship have got a different style now.
Yeah, one championship is doing things really, really good. So see if I was the one to fight in my 57 fight category, I wouldn't be able to do it because I would show up on the hydration test as being severely dehydrated.
Yep.
And they do that test twice as far as I believe. And that's done so that you are safe and able to perform and they're looking after your safety and your health at the end of the day. And I don't understand why the UFC doesn't do that either. You know?
Right. Let's stick on you. And I seen you've got a fight organised for later in the year now. Eventually.
Yeah. Well, I've just had another fight confirmed for August in Glasgow.
Right.
So that's a wee bit closer to the date. And it means I've got a bit more of a challenge to get to weight, but it's perfect for us, you know.
Right. So and again, maybe there's stuff that you don't want to disclose here regarding what your weight's going to be like and stuff. But as much as you can tell me, and I understand that. So if you were, let's say, you were to fight, okay, what do you walk around as? Just
at the moment, this is probably the heaviest I've sat at the moment. I'm walking about 72 kilos at the moment.
Right. Okay. Right. Let's put COVID to the side and just let's say you had 2 fights a year, and one in March, and then you were going to have another one in December. See, around about the summertime, June or July, what would you be walking about at? Still true, but what would your weight be?
Before all COVID kicked in, my walkabout weight was about 65, 67.
Right. So 60. We'll call it 65. 67 is worst case scenario, right? 65, and you would be looking to fight at what?
Probably 57. So you're looking at what, 8 kilo drop. Right.
Okay. So you weigh in the day before at 57 kilograms. Yep. What are you when you enter the ring the following night?
If I'm quite fortunate and I can get an IV, I've got a good recomp in terms of what I can get in food-wise, I can walk back in at least 8 to 10 kilos heavy.
Right. Okay. So the question's right back to that basic question then of why. So if I had no experience at all and I'm being devil's advocate here, I would say, well, hold on a minute, that's cheating because you earn it that way. You're 7 kilograms heavier.
So it's done the exact same way it's done in UFC as in a lot of the other fights. So people won't have a kind of size advantage at the end of the day. Yeah. You know, and I've had it done to myself before. Like I've fought at like 60 against one of the Griphouse boys, and I'm a small 60k fighter at the end of the day. And I got matched with a boy called Bart Milek, and Bart was an animal. He was huge. He was about twice the size of me as he was wide. Yeah. You know, he had a massive size advantage over me, and that's what it's done for at the end of the day. People want to have that size advantage so they can have a bit of strength advantage. And there's also a wee bit of psychological part to it as well. If you've got someone that looks physically imposing, you're kind of like, oh shit, man, what have I got myself into? Well, let's not be daft. To see if someone does look big and scary, your instant thing is there's a bit of fear in there, you know. So
they're big and scary then, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a psychological fear part of it. There's also the physical part of it as well. They're looking for that size advantage so they can dominate, whether it be in the clinch or if it's the UFC, they're on the floor and they can dominate on that. They've got that extra weight to lie down on someone, you know. And and it's kind of the same when you do your Thai boxing with the clinch. You've got that extra weight to kind of lean on somebody, to kind of foam manhandle someone about as well, you know. So it gets done everywhere, unfortunately.
No, I know for sure. I know.
It's kind of the dark side of the sport, I would say, you know. And I've had some really pretty bad, nasty weight cuts for people. I've seen some really bad, nasty cuts for folk as well that have just been horrific. I've seen what it can do to people. I've seen online what it says. I don't know if you remember seeing maybe a few years ago, there was a Japanese show happening.
Right.
I think it was an MMA show, and the fighter actually had to be carried onto the scales by his coaches, and he was literally like this all over, you know, and you're just sitting there going, like, how can this fight be allowed to go ahead? I mean, like, medically, his heart rate must be up here.
Yeah.
His eyes must be severely dilated. His breathing's got to be all over the place. How is he being medically cleared to fight, you know?
Yeah.
That for me, I got, see if I had saw that, like, for me, if I'm a doctor and you walk onto my scales, you faint twice, I'm saying there straight away, this fight's not going ahead, you know?
Yeah. But see, the thing is, Mondo, like, this is why all you fighters are absolutely crazy, because you've just said that. But see, 2 minutes ago, you were telling me a story about being in a sauna in Sweden, like doing exactly the same thing to yourself. It's craziness. He's as mad as a brush. So he's
the thing is, like, so when I'm saying about the medical cleared, right, from my experience over here, I've only dealt with maybe maybe 2 or 3 doctors that have done really good, clear medical tests to say, right, I think you're fit enough to fight.
Yeah.
When I've been over to Sweden to fight, 3 times now.
Okay.
In terms of being tested medically, they're up there. They're brilliant. They have you for like 30, 45 minutes, and they go through a lot of different tests. They go through hearing tests. They go through physical tests. So they maybe get you active for maybe 5 minutes. They're checking how fast you are to recover on your resting heart rate. They've got testing your eyes. They do a shitload more than what we do in the UK, you know, which is a wee bit scary when you think about it as well.
Yeah.
I think the worst one I was fighting on the Headhunter show. I literally walked into the doctor's room, signed, got my heart checked, quick pulse rate, you're healthy, on you go, mate. You know, it's kind of scary in that regard. So as much as the weight side of things is kind of a scary prospect, having the right doctor can be the kind of, so if a doctor's only really there just for a payday, you could be going in there and you could have something seriously wrong with you, you know? And that, I mean, you might not know that you've got something like wrong with the heart and you get struck there. Doctor could have known that if he checked you thoroughly. That's potentially something that's debilitating for the rest of your life. Okay, that's a worst case scenario, but it could happen, you know?
That worries me about all. Well, again, you're talking about professional setups, but even just amateur setups, and it's not just in something that would be like full contact like Muay Thai, but even like a Taekwondo championship, and you're talking about a national championship or karate or what, judo, whatever martial art it is, there should be like a duty of care to people that I know for a fact just isn't there. I mean, if we stick on the Muay Thai now, you'll get someone comes in, and again, let's say they're fighting amateur, don't even include payment. And as you mentioned earlier on, the payment's rubbish anyway. But if you're doing a fight night and you're not getting paid, and then you get knocked out, the doctor makes sure you're all right, and 3 weeks later, there's a side effect to that or something because of that concussion. Now I know you've probably at your own risk, but there's no duty of care there. You can't go back to that promotion and say, I've had a problem with my brain because of this.
You kind of get to, you're given something to sign that you agree, that you acknowledge that you are going into a sport where you're going to get physical harm, and that's basically in essence a waiver on my eyes. You're waiving, you know. And at the end of the day, the promotion is obviously doing what they have to do for your safety by having a doctor or medic on hand, and then at the same time they're trying to kind of save themselves so that nothing does fall back on them, which is totally understandable. Because at the end of the day, if it was to happen all the time, we wouldn't be able to fight. You know, I got knocked out last week, and I'm going to go back to the promotion and say, look, by the way, I have side effects. I want about a few grand off you for the kind of recomp, you know?
I know.
And it's like, the thing that's probably different, I'd say, with Taekwondo and Thai boxing, you just have a governing body. So you just kind of have procedures and protocols in place. In essence, Thai boxing doesn't have a kind of legitimate. I mean, Sport Scotland, Sport England don't recognise Thai boxing. As far as I'm aware, we don't get recognised by Sport Scotland or Sport England. Taekwondo is still recognised by Sport Scotland.
I spoke about that in the last podcast, actually. You
know, so one of the big things I would love to see in the future for Thai boxing is to get that recognition so that it can be more safer. You've got those procedures in place and you do have your protocols. And so we do have the kind of the UKMF, but they're sometimes here, they're sometimes not here. So it's a hard one to be, you know. I would like to see a governing body bring in to make things a wee bit more safer. Okay, it might cost a wee bit more money, but at the end of the day, if we want to have longevity in this sport, especially for either keeping the sport going or having fighters fighting longer or just being safer, you need that there at the end of the day.
Yep. There's another thing I want to chat to you about, and it's getting back to more of your experience as a PT or a fitness coach. Something that really interested me was I listened to an interview with Faraz Sahabi, George St. Pierre's coach. And it's about training protocol, and you're the perfect guy actually to talk to us about. He was talking about people training till failure, and then he was pretty much like absolutely against that. Now I'll probably murder this, but I'll try my best to explain what he was talking about. Let's say, for example, you and I were the exact same skill set, the exact same weight, age, everything. And we're going to train, we're going to fight in 3 months' time. Now, what he was saying was if Mondo goes in on a Monday and absolutely destroys himself and is so sore that he can't train on Tuesday, he's in back in on Wednesday, does the exact same. He can't train on Thursday, trains on Friday. He says he sees a lot of people that do that absolutely destroy their bodies with this attitude about train till I can't train anymore. And then he said, the next fighter, so I'll use myself, I go in and I do just enough on Monday, just enough on Tuesday, just enough on Wednesday. By the time March comes, you might have think that you've trained harder than me because you pushed to failure, but I've had about 30 more training sessions than you in that time. So the question is...
Well, I'll give you a wee kind of analogy that I like to use, and I've used it with a few people, and a few people have used it as me. Imagine you've got your car, right? You've got 2 cars, right? You one running like right into the red line on the revs all the time. You do that daily, every day, no matter what. Your second car, you're lucky if you take it to maybe 2,000 revs, right? Silver, in a short period of time, that car that's been in the red all the time, that's going to fail on you constantly. Whereas the one that you've got that's just constant on that 2,000, 2,000, 2,000 is going to last longer. You know, and the same method applies. At the end of the day, you're looking for something when you come to your training for S&C. It needs to be progressive. If you're constantly hammering yourself into the floor, you're going to end up getting to a point where you're going to be overtrained. You're not going to make any progressive gains. What you think are gains are probably not, you know. If you look at the second fight and they're coming in, they're doing bits at a time, bits at a time, bits at a time, bits at a time. That ability for progressive overload is going to be massive compared to someone who's redlining themselves all the time. You know, they need that extra day of recovery, whereas that other one just needs that wee day, comes back, and it's a lot. It needs to be there. That's why progressive overload is there. You know, if you've not got that progressive overload, and you are going to hammer yourself into the ground, you are going to end up the worst state. You know, it's not. Especially for the combat game sports, if you hammer yourself day and night, you're not going to perform to the ability that you can, you know.
So let's talk about you then. Like if you had a fight coming up. In fact, no, let's look at it without a fight first of all, actually.
Sure.
If you were just training the now, what does your standard week look like?
At the moment, I am lifting maybe twice a week.
Right.
So Monday and Friday I lift, and I'm doing mainly Olympic lift work.
Okay.
So Olympic lift work, so I'm snatching, I'm cleaning, I'm squatting, I'm maybe doing a bit of jerk as well. And I'm maybe using a wee bit of light cardio. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm doing some kind of high-end conditioning. So I quite like using some of the CrossFit style WODs just because they're fun, they're something different, and they've got movement patterns in that I can do, but they have enough of intensity to take me up to where I want to do. And then I maybe do a wee bit of bag work, and it's technical bag work, so I'm only hitting for 5 threes, and it's very light, you know.
Yeah.
And then say Wednesdays and Saturdays, I'm out doing some road work, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very much in that kind of area. I do like to smash myself into the ground,
Right.
but that's just personal preference. I don't do it all the time. I kind of like to do it to kind of see. It's kind of like I want to see where I am physically, fitness wise at the moment,
Yeah.
just as a test, and I maybe do that every now and then. It's not something I do all the time.
Yeah. So that's something you would put in only just as a right. I need to see where I am at the moment.
Yeah, so the other day, I've the most I've run in the last kind of few weeks has been like 5Ks. You know,
Right.
just getting myself back into the run of things and whatever. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to test myself. I'm going to just go and do 15K just out of the blue.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll redline it. I'll try and push my pace for as long as I can to see how long I can maintain it. And that's just a physical challenge, just for myself to see where I'm mentally and where I'm physically more than anything. Yeah. You know, there is times where you can go and train at that intensity if you want to kind of challenge yourself. But if you're doing that day in and day out, it's not going to do you anything in the long run. You know.
Yeah. I see from your social media that you're a big fan of kettlebells as well. How do you incorporate kettlebell work into your training?
Kettlebells, so I like kettlebells a lot. Kettlebells used to be like one of my foundation bases of training. Mm-hmm. One, it's a handy piece of kit in terms of, especially in this current situation, it's small. You can keep it in a very easy location and you can do loads with it. It's a full body piece of kit. You can do cardio conditioning with it. You can do the strength work. You can do explosive work. You can work even some of the Olympic lift movements as well. So it's very kind of beneficial in that terms. So I think it's a brilliant piece of kit. And I've got a shitload of them in the living room at the moment. But yeah, like, so I'll probably do them like in some of my conditioning that I maybe do on the Tuesday and the Thursday. And I do a multitude of different movements, so it's full body, so I'm getting the full benefit of it. Yeah. But kettlebell, for me, it's a piece of kit I don't see people using a lot. Yeah. Because they don't know how to use it, or it's something I see getting used is very light because of kettle size, which is a kind of commercial gym class. They tend to tend people to say, right, we're going to use this for an exercise, we're going to do it for 1 minute, and it's a light kettlebell. But they're brilliant for martial artists just because, so with a dumbbell, your 2 points of contact for your weight are here, right? And your hand is there. When you've got the kettlebell, that weight moves round your wrist, whereas with the dumbbell, it's staying in a fixed place. So if you think about when you're doing your strikes or moving, you're constantly changing, your balance changes as well. So that is the same with the kettlebell. So it's more applicable to what we do as well. Yeah. And the fact that you can use it, so say for talking sakes, I have really 2 bad dodgy wrists. I've got I've always going to have a fractured scaphoid in this wrist, and I'm recovering from a scapholunate tear in my wrist at the moment in this. Okay. So as much as I can do the Olympic lift with the barbell, I'm limited to how heavy I can go at the moment. Yeah. But with the kettlebell, I'm not in an overextension position. I'm not severely flexing in the wrist. So the kettlebell allows me to work those Olympic movements, still work them quite heavy. So I'm still getting that explosive aspect, but I'm not putting my wrist over on severe strain as what I would do with a barbell. So if you're injured with certainly, they can work as well. Right. You know, they're a great piece of kit and they don't get utilised enough is what I think.
The last wee question I've got for you, Mondo, before I let you go, because I know you're going to wait to train, which is a sign of a brilliant martial artist, is flexibility training. What do you do, or how much flexibility training do you do, or what do you do?
Believe it or not, man, like when I was in kickboxing, we used to spend like 15, 20 minutes on that all the time. Yeah. Like that you would warm up, you would do your 15, 20 minutes, you do your kind of hamstring, your quad stretch, calf stretch, you name it, and then you'd go into all your kind of like partner stress stretch, you'd do PNF, you'd do some force stretching as well. Yeah. See, with the jump to Thai boxing, I very rarely do any kind of stretching at all now. Right. If anything, I kind of work more onto mobility-based work so that I have certain ranges of movement that I'm still able to get into and kind of foam rolling. I mean, I would love to be able to spend 30, 40 minutes just stretching because I know the benefits that it's there. But at the same time, when you look at a kind of if you've only got an hour for training for that you can dedicate for Thai boxing, warm up, right, 5 threes, that's going to take me a wee while, and then some sparring, clinching, whatever, some technical, that's going to take up the hour massively, you know.
Right.
Mobility you can do quite quickly. I mean, you can do some seated, deep-seated squat position, holding for a minute, then move into something like inchworm workouts to loosen off the hamstrings. You can do some press-ups for like some thoracic and then lumbar rotations as well. And it just allows you to get a quick bit of a stretch in, but at the same time still work your range of motion. I tend to find that stretching is something I don't see a lot, and it's probably one of the areas in Thai boxing that needs a wee bit more work on, a wee bit more, because at the end of the day, stretching helps to prevent against injuries.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
And it's something that not just myself, but a lot of people in Thai boxing I say don't do enough of. You know.
Yeah.
Also the fact as well, because a lot of the gyms that we're in for Thai boxing are old industrial units. They've got tin roofs. They're not insulated well. See, when it comes to the winter, the last thing you want to be doing when you've just done a hard workout, you're sweating, is sit down on a freezing cold floor and stretch. You know, it's probably the worst thing. I mean, the only time I remember stretching with Thai boxing is when we used to train up at Stone Common, but that wee room was roasting all the time, so you could get away with it. But it's something definitely. It's definitely something that's not spent in. But in the last kind of like year, so I teach a mobility class in Sport Scotland.
Right, brilliant.
So we didn't have that for a while, and then it's something we've kind of brought in. So it's something that I now work a lot on with my colleagues to kind of progress and make one. And then, do you know what? I'm going to focus this on for me for this week, just so I can get something out of it at the same time. But the people still benefit from it as well. And then one of the boys, Ross, up at the Griphouse, he knows a boy that does really specialises in mobility, and he was bringing him in every Friday night, and we were all paying like £3 or £4 for his hour worth of mobility. So that was kind of my flexibility training in a session as well. So yeah, we definitely don't spend enough time on it. I mean, I know we're like a taekwondo, you really need to, because of the difficulty and the kind of technical ability of some of the kicks require that flexibility. But with Thai boxing, it's kind of like, see, as long as you can kick to the body and the legs, unless you really want to go for the kind of show stuff, kind of finish with the high kick, it's not something that's really looked at, you know?
Yeah, I was always, I mean, because I do witness head kicks in Thai boxing. I do see it, and I'm thinking, right, well, they must be doing something to get the leg up there, unless everybody's just completely naturally talented. But it's so interesting to see.
So most people I will find have a good level of dynamic flexibility. It's when you ask them to come and do their static flexibility, they're horrific. It's like one of the boys up at the Grip, he's quite tall, he's quite skinny, quite lanky, can kick your head in the head, not a problem. But his kind of static mobility and his static flexibility is horrific, you know.
That's really interesting.
It's weird, and it's something I would like to kind of look into and maybe research at some point. It's like how dynamic flexibility can differ from static flexibility so dramatically, you know. It's kind of weird, like, I can kick you in the head, but I can't touch my toes.
I know, it's mad. That is mad. Right, so just before I let you go, you've got 2 fights hopefully coming up. So what's the confidence like in the overall community about us moving out of COVID now, and these fight events, fight nights being able to happen and get back to training? And
there's a fight show happening in May, but that's been as a pay-per-view show, and that's happening down in Newcastle. So that's kind of like your first show that's going to be happening in the UK in essence, but it's hopefully behind closed doors. With the hope that lockdown comes at the end of June, there's a few shows looking this to happen in July. Personally, I wouldn't hold my breath for them, just because Boris and Nicola don't like us and want to be arseholes and whatever. But
political statement from Mondo there.
Political statement here. No, but I don't see them happening, just because it's too soon. That's straight out of lockdown. I think there'll be far too many hoops to kind of jump through. the shows coming later in the year, I think they've got a better chance of kind of happening just because there's a wee bit more time. It gives them a bit more time to set procedures and policies in place so that everything's been done by the letter and they can say, right, I've done this, I've done that. Makes life a wee bit easier for them as well, you know.
Yeah.
I just hope it goes back to normal, man. I'm desperate to get back to work just for a wee bit of routine, you know.
Yeah.
And plus, I miss my members, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to get out with the wee one as well. Like you're probably the same with your son as well. You've not had the chance to take him anywhere.
No.
We want to take her to a climbing place. She's all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
I'm hopefully, man, that after June, lockdown's completely gone. Life's a wee bit easier. The fighting comes back better. Martial art competitions for every martial art is allowed to go ahead, you know.
Yeah.
I know I was speaking to a boy.
Never mind tournaments. Getting a class with your students will be an absolute dream at the minute.
Well, I was speaking to a boy who does jiu-jitsu the other night and he was just saying, he's like, I'm desperate to get on the mats and just roll.
Yeah.
You know? But it's like, I don't know how that's going to work. Because again, if you look at it in terms of martial arts, so kickboxing, karate, taekwondo, even Thai boxing, we can kind of get away around it by doing bag work or whatever, shadow boxing or whatever, so forth like that. Jits and judo's a wee bit different because you need to be manhandled. Yeah, so I can understand them thinking, oh man, I feel so jealous. You're going to get back to training straight away, and yet I'm still not sure what's going to be happening because am I going to have to roll with a mask on? Am I going to have to be told that I'm not allowed? Am I going to have to go to a gym that's got the big Fairtex dummies and that's as close as to one-to-one rolling I'm going to get?
Yeah.
As much as we are coming out of lockdown, hopefully in June, it's still a scary prospect at the end of the day for all sports.
Yeah, for sure. We can only hope that there's some major breakthrough, that things just open, but we live in hope, buddy. We live in hope.
That's it, man. We do indeed. We can only wait and see. Right,
okay, Mondo. Give us a wee shout out to your Instagram in case anybody wants to go on and check it out. What's the address? So,
if anyone wants to go on my Instagram, it's basically at Intrigued in Life, and it's exactly how you spell it. Yeah, so Intrigued at Life. In fact, let me just double check. It's not got the actual at that because I'm not 100% sure.
I think you can search that, aye.
It's Intrigued in Life, so it's no at, so it's just basically Intrigued in Life. It's just basically me. It's all my training videos. You maybe get the odd video or picture of the wee one doing something daft, but Brilliant. It's all about my training. I promote my fights on it. And if you want to go into my Facebook, unfortunately, it's just going to be anime and manga stuff related, unfortunately. So
that's perfect. Right, Mondo, away you go and enjoy your training today, buddy. And
dude, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No, listen, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll catch you soon, bud. All right.
Man, you have a good day. I'll catch you later.
Take care. See you later, Mondo. Cheers, pal.